Today counts and completes 365 days of state-sponsored terrorism, where terrorism emerged from temple trees, which is also known as the Prime Minister's residence, which attacked on innocent protesters who thought months of protest dreamt of a change in the system, which was corrupt to its core. When then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into power as president, voted by 69 lakhs of citizens of Sri Lanka, followed by the whole Rajapaksa clan wanted power by appointing themselves in the country back in 2019. Back then, we had US dollars worth of 7.4 billion in our reserves, and right now it has gone all the way to zero today. In history, we have read that the country is self-nourished when it comes to its agriculture, but the farmers was thrown out to the roads by the Rajapaksas, who proposed a 100% ban on fertilizers overnight. I mean, I encourage the need for the reduction of using artificial fertilizers, but then president should have taken steps to ban in steps, like months or years period, gradually allowing farmers to yield the needful fertilizers organically. So that left the farmers on the road to protest as well. But the pro-Rajapaksha mob assaulted peaceful protesters. Some say even the JVP was involved in turning the mindset of the peaceful protesters of the nation. What started off as a peaceful protest showing support to the then Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, ended with a day full of violence and clashes. Hours after bloodshed and violence, at the height of spiraling down an economic crisis in Sri Lanka, the then Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who resigned on the 9th of May. Houses and properties owned by around over 100 ministers were set ablaze. On the 10th of May, a list had been showed that over 100 more houses were put on fire as well. At top of the list were homes owned by the current opposition party as well. MPs at this point were requested for the army to be deployed. Accordingly, there had been taken place of 3 shootings that took place, and current Justice Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa had said that if it had not been these shootings, your houses would have been destroyed too. So police have been imposed an island-wide curfew with immediate effect. This is all a year ago. Until today, not a single terrorist have yet been charged for their planned action on state-sponsored terrorism, for which the Western Province DIG police extended their fullest support openly in the presence of media. The same person is tipped to be given the IGP post as a bribe for executing the master's plans. So when I say corruption to its core, it's literally to the heart of Sri Lanka itself. In our nation, with the popular slogan, "One country, one law," the hypocrisy behind this slogan was that it was created by the Rajapaksas themselves on prevailing and justice which will be denied. So basically, our nation with a popular slogan was "One nation, one law." Hypocrisy prevails and justice is denied, is what we say. Today is a very significant day. It is the day that for the first time in our history of people of this country stood up against the ruling class. It had a collective class consequences, but on the day, people were not standing up only against the Rajapaksa regime, like some people trying to present it. They stood up against an entire establishment. They stood up against the whole nation's democratic pillars, the fundamentals of it itself. So that is why both even SP and AKD, those of you who know these names, these titles, I'm just going to shortlist it because it's going to be, I don't want to make this podcast long. So those who came to aid at the Gota Gogama, the GGG, was turned away because of that. That is why not only houses of ruling parties and politicians were burned down, but even the oppositions was attacked. Because the people knew that it's the core that needs to be changed, and it's the politicians that needs to be changed. So the change that we need to see is within ourselves. So all I have to ask for the future generations and for those who remember this, to vote next time wisely, because we know what a family business is, what a family regime will do, on what a class oriented or thinkers will do to this nation, because everyone wants their own fellow members in power to do what the hell they want to do. But let's make sure that we do not allow such a thing to happen again. So to voice out your opinions and to shout out loud about what is happening. But I have to keep in mind with you that the Anti-Terrorism Act, which is already been out, which is also again being delayed in Parliament, will actually portray on how narrow-minded our judiciary system is, our lawyers, our ministers actually, because they are going to bring up an act where if an individual even holds a banner outside on the streets proclaiming their right for information and their speech, is completely a violation and it's a terrorism act. So just to keep that as an end note, your silent protest could be a future terrorism act. So to be vigilant, to be active in what you are doing, and to know your proper law and the status quo of the country before you vote to them, and before you see what you're going to do the next step, think wisely what step will be, what will reconsider you as a terrorist next. Because you and I, we are all human beings in this nation, in this beautiful nation island, Sri Lanka. I just want to take a brief moment and just thank all of you listeners right now, and those of you who are helping me and sharing this on your social media and with your friends. I'm truly grateful. But there's also a way on how you can help me out. If you want me to continue this, you can obviously sign up on the form below to join me on my podcast and be hosted on your greatest achievements and things that you want to vent and talk on. And at the same time, you can also donate to me at the links which is mentioned below, which will help me greatly on helping to develop and to grow this podcast. So thank you again. Stay safe, everyone.